Welcome back, and our guest now is the President of the Elkford Arts Council Society, Teri Cleverly. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, well, thanks for having me here.
No problem. Now, you moved here in 1991, originally from Spokane, Washington. How does somebody from Spokane end up in little old Elkford?
In 1990, I learned how to ride a motorcycle, and I went with friends of ours, rode up to Selmo to a party up there. So it was the first time I'd been out on a highway, first time I had gone through a street light in Spokane, but we ended up in Selmo and I met my husband. My husband was from Elkford, and that's how eventually I ended up in Elkford. I actually moved up here in November of '90. And it started snowing. My husband was a blaster at the mine, and he lived in a trailer, and so he left about 6:30 in the morning, and it snowed up to the bottom of the window, that big picture window, and then by the time he got home at 7:30 at night, it had covered the whole window. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I made the right choice. But I think I did. I mean, I've been here a long time, and I love it here.
Given the location of Elkford, was there a sense of isolation when you come in on the road and you kind of at the end or the beginning of the road, as they like to say here? Did you get that feeling when you first came to town?
Well, if you come from a place where there's movie theaters, restaurants, universities you could go to, concerts you can see, and you drive in and there was no street light, there wasn't even a blinking light. And there was a store, a liquor store, a post office, and I think there was a coffee shop in the old mall at that point. Yeah, it felt really isolated. And it took a couple years to get used to being here, but I became the youth care worker for the 3 schools here in Elkford. There were 2 elementary schools and 1 high school. That created the connection I had with Elkford. I think it was working in the schools and doing what I do, using art as a way to help children survive.
And of course, art, given your position now, art has been a big part of your life, and you've had quite an impact here in Elkford, growing the Arts Council, the easels. You brought in a number of easels, and you brought in a whole bunch of pottery wheels for the public to use. You've put a lot of effort into what was the driving force behind that, and was there ever any concern that maybe here in Elkford that it might not get the use that it deserves?
Well, I think the vision is, and I say is and not was, is that this can be a place just like Atlin or Kimberly Art Center or Fernie Art Station. It can be that way, and because of the beauty in this small community up the valley here, it has that kind of connection about it that you can create an art space here. Last year, 2016, we had 480 people go through our doors on a regular basis, and we've connected with the Family Center in Fernie, where those youth care workers come up to Elkford and work with kids in the community. Before there was an art studio, they would just go hang out at 1 or 2 of the restaurants that we have here. Now they come to the art studio and they make art and they use that as a vehicle. I never thought it would grow as fast as it did. And so we're really, really proud of it.
And I would imagine that a lot of the artists, not just in Elkford, but in the surrounding area, the area that you would pull from, would have been very excited to see something like this come, given that there was no Arts Council here before.
I think it was a surprise to everybody that there were actually a group of artists here that were so committed to keeping a space alive and watching it grow. And the art studio's changed Elkford. It's changed in ways we never thought it would. I mean, under our umbrella, we have a cinema that runs movies for kids once a month. So we do many things. We're strongly supported by this little community, which is an amazing thing, right? Mm-hmm. And we just keep plugging along and doing what we do.
Do you see the arts community growing since you've opened this facility? Are there more people coming out of the woodwork, so to speak, that you hadn't seen before or didn't know were really that creative type in this town?
Oh yes, yes, and there's many ways to do that we've done. A sip and paint where people have come and the golf course opened their space for us as a fundraiser because we couldn't put that many people upstairs in the art studio. So those people that just came and kind of tried their hand at painting, they loved it, and we had more people register to become members. It's a really neat place on a Saturday afternoon in the middle of winter, where you've got the kettle going on, you've got music playing, and you've got parents and kids making art. So. And
where to next? Obviously, you probably want to keep growing. You want to add more services. What's the plan going forward for the Arts Council?
Well, our plan is we're rapidly growing out of space. And there's one demographic that we don't reach, and that's seniors, because we are up 2 flights of stairs. And even though there's a handicap lift to help them come up 2 flights of stairs, it is pretty intimidating for most people that can't get up the stairs. So we're looking for a bigger space eventually, maybe 3-4 years down the road at this point. And we'll keep bringing in professional artists. We've had Doug Swinton, who's a Canadian landscape painter, Sarah Pike, who's a master potter, Michael Heffer, who's a printmaker. We've had high-end professional artists come in and do workshops in the art studio, and those have been well attended. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
One last question for you: what keeps you in Elkford after all these years?
When I first moved here, and I've always been a portrait painter, I paint people, and I swore I would never paint a landscape or never paint an animal. Well, my paintings have sold in Yellowstone, they've sold all over Canada, and I'm painting grizzly bears, moose, elk, yeah, you never know what's going to happen when you go somewhere, because this community and this beautiful part of the world, even though there's a mine up the valley, has a way of insinuating itself on your artistic conscience. And that was a surprise to me. I never thought that would happen, but it did. So.
All right, Teri, well, thank you very much for joining us on Where You Live.
Thanks for having me.
Don't go anywhere, we've still got more coming up after the break.